I cried or if I laughed. I just remember I want my money back. I can't remember if it sucked or if I had a blast. All I know is at the end of the show, when the credits rolled, it said FilmtopiaCast 3000.
Hello and welcome to another episode of FilmtopiaCast 3000. I'm your host Greg McIver, and with me as always is
Nicky Boom-Boom.
Well, it's been a little while and we apologize. We took a small vacation.
A little bit more than a small vacation.
Yeah, not so much regardless, we're back and we're happy to be here. And now we're going to talk about some film stuff. What did we just see in the movies?
The two of us just saw Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier.
Yes, Captain America, The Winter Soldier. The sequel to 2000 and I don't know when it came out, Captain America: The First Avenger, I think it's safe to say that we both pretty much enjoyed it, right?
Really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Very, very good offering from Marvel.
Yeah, no.
And worthy sequel.
Very much so. Well, thank you for joining. I've done this before. No. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. I thought this movie was very, very good. I liked it certainly a lot better than the first Captain America movie, and I think that's a general consensus for most of the people that have seen this. In fact, some people are saying that this is even better than the Avengers. They're saying this is the best Marvel movie.
Really? I wouldn't personally go that far,
Yeah.
But I think it's one of the best Marvel offerings that we've seen. I would put it up there with, like, just behind Avengers and Iron Man for me, the first Iron Man. Then I think maybe Cap 2.
Okay. I don't know, it's hard. I
know you love Thor as well.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think the Avengers is the overall best Marvel movie still.
Mm-hmm.
Thor has always been my personal favorite just because I thought the handling of the comedy in that was absolute genius. Plus the introduction of Loki, a really good villain.
Yeah.
That's sort of why that's my overall favorite. But, I love the first Iron Man movie. And, I would say I would put this... I don't know. It's high up there for me. It's. I would put it alongside the first Iron Man movie. I think it's neck and neck with that one.
Well, anyway, I think we can both agree it's great.
Yeah.
I think we can both agree also that we liked it better than Cap 1.
Yeah.
Why is that? Like, I really like Cap as a character. He probably is my favorite among the Avengers, and yet I liked him so much more in the Avengers movie than I liked his movie, the first one.
Right. I think. Well, I've always said about the first Captain America movie that I think it's halfway a good movie. Like, I enjoy the first half quite a bit. I think I like the feeling of nostalgia that goes with it.
Yeah.
And the character of Cap himself, I actually like, and it's a really kind of daring character if you think about it, because on paper he's not interesting. So to bring this kind of character to life is, it takes balls to do it, because you think about it, most heroes that you have some sort of a tragic backstory, which is why they become a hero, or they've done wrong in the past and they feel the need to do right. Cap is just a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a really nice guy, and he wants to help people, and he's before he takes the serum, he is a small person himself, not a midget, but he is a he's not very strong and able, and so he knows what it's like to be bullied. And when he gets the serum, he really wants to take the opportunity to use his newfound powers to help mankind, because A, he knows what it's like to be bullied, and B, because he's a nice guy. But it all boils down to he's a good person. And yeah, on paper that isn't very interesting. Certainly it's not an Iron Man type backstory or even a Batman type backstory. But the way you make that work is that you provide that character with interesting obstacles, and therein is where you'll find a good story. And I don't think they did that with the first Captain America movie. Yeah. It's he gets his powers, the Red Skull's introduced, and then it steadily goes downhill from there because the stakes weren't that high, and because it didn't seem like the Red Skull was that much of a problem. They mentioned early on in the movie that, his troops with their newfound weapons decimated a cadre of soldiers.
They're laser beams.
Yeah, the laser beams. Yeah, using the power of the Tesseract, And oh my god, it's this big thing. Well, it happens off screen, so we don't get to see it. So emotionally, there's not much of a connection there with us. So the movie talks at you.
Right. We never really get to see Red Skull be like terrifying menace.
No, not really. And when Cap, comes into his own finally and starts to, put the fight back towards Red Skull, it's done in montage, and it doesn't seem to be much of a fight because he just keeps beating Red Skull at every turn.
Yeah.
And when he leads the final charge into their fortress towards the end of the movie, like, he's kind of in there doing his own thing, but meanwhile the American soldiers are back, and they're using their normal machine guns against the Hydra soldiers that have the weapons, the special laser beam weapons, and they're doing just fine. They're doing just fine without Cap. They're mowing them down with no problem at all. And there needed to be me and my friend Rick Rodriguez talked about this before. There needed to be that moment where maybe, like, at one point the Americans get a hold of one of the weapons, like, we got the weapon now, and then they turn the tide back towards the Red Skull. They give him a little taste of his own medicine, but you don't get that, and they don't need it because they're doing just fine. And it's a very standard sort of plot in the first Captain America movie. Red Skull is a evil madman who wants to take over the world,
He's super Hitler.
He's super Hitler.
Operating under Hitler's nose, and,
Yeah, and so that's all well and good, but it doesn't go beyond that genericness. I just created a word. Genericness.
The unfortunate thing about that, I think, is that it's actually pretty accurate to what Cap was in those days, because Cap was basically propaganda.
Yeah.
It was like stuff to inspire the American troops and show, like, hey, no, you can win if you believe.
Yeah.
So...
And I like that part of the movie, too.
I do, the very, like, stylized 40s beginning
yeah.
half of the movie, and then I think you're right, though, once we get into the war...
Yeah.
There's just not a sense of, like, Cap might lose this thing. Because, partially because it's World War II, and we know that he doesn't. But but I don't know. They needed to build a little more tension, and I think show Red Skull being a little bit more menacing.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely agree. It's it's very standard stuff, and it just doesn't go any interesting places. And then at the end, Cap decides he needs to crash the plane that he's flying into the water in order to save civilization. I don't remember where they're heading. I think they're heading to New York.
I think the plane is either heading to New York or D.C. It's heading to America.
Right, it's heading to America, so he needs to crash it
in
order to save them. Although some people have pointed out in the past, did he really need to crash it?
Yeah, how it should have ended has a pretty good riff on, like, wait, do you actually need to do that, or are you just, like, being self-sacrificing?
I gotta take her down. Well, no, there's a landing strip, like, right over there. No, into the water. So, but that's whatever. That's a nitpick. That's putting that aside. They needed to get him in the ice somehow.
He's got to get frozen. So
he's got to get frozen so he can wake up and fight with the Avengers.
Yeah.
So this time around, we've got Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and Cap is a man out of time, and he's been living in our time for I don't know, like what, a couple years now.
I think at least a year or two.
Yeah, and so he's slowly but steadily getting used to it. That's not really so much of a problem with him anymore. It's the fact that he's now starting to realize that, the people that he's fighting for might just be the people that he needs to be fighting. And that's a really interesting obstacle to give to somebody like Captain America, who's very much, again, he's propaganda. He's like, America, can do no wrong,
And he really believes it.
And he really does believe it, the poor schmuck.
Yeah.
And, but in this go around, he has to learn a pretty hard lesson, and he learns it with the introduction of a character named the Winter Soldier. Are we getting into spoiler territory?
Well, let's hold off on that.
Okay.
We'll let you guys know when we get spoilerific on it.
All right, yeah.
But yeah, for right now, one of the main antagonists is an assassin named the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That's not a spoiler.
No. It's in the title too.
But then also the Winter Soldier is more of like a cat's paw for, once again, Cap is like learning that he can't exactly trust everybody that he thought he could trust. And these missions he's going on for S.H.I.E.L.D. and for America, he has to kind of question his own actions and who he's listening to, and whether or not it's actually good for the country, what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's basically the crux of the conflict of the movie, is the things that he's doing for America that he believes in so much, his belief is being shaken a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get a a very nice turn by Robert Redford as a character named Secretary Pierce, whom at the beginning you believe he is an ally, that he is working for the greater good. But like all psychopaths, his path towards the greater good lies in the death and destruction of millions and millions of people.
Right.
It's that whole you gotta, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, type of motif happening. So yeah, it's the movie itself has a very different tone and feel than any other Marvel movie.
Yeah, quick thing, I didn't really like Captain America as a kid. He was one of my least favorites, and I kind of put him in the same bubble as Superman. And
Okay.
I didn't like them because they were like sanctimonious, super moral, very like Boy Scouty, and for Cap at least, that's changed in my adult life. I didn't get him at first, but kind of what you were saying before about how his origin's a little different, and he's just a good guy. There's another thing with him too, which is that it's almost like a King Arthur story for him, because they end up trying to recreate the super soldier serum a bunch of times.
Right.
And either they don't get the serum right, or they get it right, but it doesn't take, and there's something like special about him. They make more of a big deal of that in the Ultimates comic, about they keep trying to inject people with super soldier serum, and it's going great, and then suddenly their body just like kicks out, and they die. And so it seems like there's something special specifically about Steve Rogers.
Because he is, as Stanley Tucci said, he is a good man.
I think that's really it. He's a good man that actually loves his country.
You just have to be a really good patriotic person for this medicine to work.
For whatever reason.
Why didn't they put that on the fucking bottles?
I know.
At some point, they could have saved so many lives and just like, warning, must love country in order to work.
So there's that aspect of it. But then the other thing I wanted to say was, and what hooked me about this movie, even from the previews,
Yeah.
I never got Cap stories back in the day because his individual stories outside of the Avengers always seemed to be about him embroiled in some sort of intrigue or espionage. And I was like, well, that's stupid. This guy's like brightly colored and like,
he's the perfect spy.
oh yeah, he's gonna be great for wet works operations and spy ops.
Keep your eye out for Captain America. There he is.
But the thing was with this one, I saw like, oh wait, no, these are like Jack Ryan stories.
Yes.
These are like this good guy who's not really supposed to be in this situation ends up getting put in this situation.
Yeah, he's capable of handling himself.
Yeah.
But...
Or like North by Northwest maybe also is an example of it.
Yeah, I can see
Less
that.
with a good guy. Like, I don't know, anyway.
No, I see what you're saying, though, as far as tone. But yeah, no, a very different tone and feel to the movie.
Yeah.
It really takes its time, this movie. It's got a good, even pace, and it doesn't feel the need to kind of jump from one action scene to the other. It really allows the characters to interact with one another, and you get a feeling
build relationships.
Yeah, exactly. Build some relationships. Really allow the tension to set in, the mood. This is not new to filmmaking, but it's good filmmaking. It's good filmmaking, and more actiony blockbusters could use this. I think
you get plenty of time building on his relationships with Fury and with Scarlet
Black Widow Johansson.
Yes. I almost call her anyway. And with the Black Widow, pre-existing relationships. But then you also get a lot of time with him building a relationship with this new character, whose name is Sam, who's an ex-soldier, who ends up becoming the Falcon.
Yeah.
And this was another thing that super impressed me about the movie. I hated the Falcon growing up. I thought he was the stupidest hero. All he can do is fly.
Good. He's got a little birdie outfit.
He's got a little birdie outfit. His little birdie outfit in the comics also is more like retro 70s, feathery.
So was he basically Marvel's version of Hawkman or something like that?
Except without the cool mace.
Yeah, Hawkman did have that mace.
But so that's what I'm saying. They made Falcon cool and likable.
Yeah, very much.
And
so.
like exciting. And it was like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
He had some very nice,
he had some cool action scenes and.
Yeah, no, they handled it really well, and it didn't feel like he didn't feel shoehorned in. It's just like let's just throw the Falcon in here and we'll sell more toys, which of course they're going to do that anyway.
Yeah, sure,
but no, it felt really natural though, and it enhanced the story because Steve Rogers doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of people that he can talk to.
No.
And so to come upon this man who is also a veteran of a war, and to be able to kind of share those similar feelings and such that one has when you leave a war.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good relationship that forms, and of course this is a Marvel movie, so he just happens to be a hero as well. But no, it does work. It doesn't feel shoehorned in. He's very good. The Falcon is played by Anthony Mackie, and yeah, he's very very good in the movie. Everybody is very good in this movie. Yeah, I can't think of. I don't really have a lot of complaints as far as this movie is concerned. I mean, I don't know the comics very well, so I don't have many of those nitpicks. I have maybe one or two, which we can kind of get into when we enter into spoiler territory.
Okay. Do we want to go ahead and initiate that?
Spoiler territory.
We're 15 minutes in. We've talked about what we liked about the movie and that.
Yeah.
You should see it if you like Marvel movies or just action movies.
Take a little trip to your local cinema and check out this little small, tiny, independent film called Captain America 2: Electric Buckaroo.
Indeed. So now, without further ado,
spoiler territory. So the Winter Soldier is Bucky. The end. No.
That really shouldn't even be that much.
No, I knew that, and I don't know the comics, and I figured that out like after the announcement that they were doing a Cap sequel. It's called The Winter Soldier. I found out like within 5 seconds, and I don't think you told me. I think that was just up in the air. It's like, oh, it's Bucky.
Yeah.
So although for a half a second when they said, okay, we're doing the sequel, it's Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I thought they were sort of insulting Captain America at first. Because don't they thaw him out of a block of ice? I thought they were calling him the Winter Soldier. I'm like, you heartless bastards. But no, it's
Captain America, throw him in your cocktail.
The Winter Soldier. So yeah, it's Bucky, and this is an amazing villain. I mean, he's a badass. He is a badass, and he's really one of the first Marvel villains to actually instill a sense of fear and terror. I mean, like,
he's damn near the Undertaker when he comes in, especially with, like the greasy, stringy hair and just, dead eyes.
Oh, that's a really, really good. That's a really good point. Yeah, you're promoted. Next time you get to sit in this chair,
boss.
I'll sit back there and I'll drink your tea, and you.
I get to work all the fancy buttons, boss.
Shut up! Oh God, I'm a mashup. Anyway, very Undertaker-like. I mean, because if you look at the past, stable of Marvel villains, you had Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane, who was very good.
Yeah.
I think he was actually a really, really good villain. He's not exactly terror-inspiring, but I mean, definitely very believable as a villain, and some nice build-up towards his revelation.
Well, and the cool thing about him is that he was the buddy.
Yeah, he was the buddy. He was the dude businessman. Oh, hey, man, I'm glad we sold those missiles.
Yeah.
Then in Iron Man 2, you had Whiplash, whom...
I want boarded.
I want... I want to work in the lab. No, he started out as sort of an interesting villain, and then they did absolutely nothing with him.
I really like Iron Man 2, but they kind of whizzed that down.
Yeah,
I'll admit.
I didn't like Iron Man 2.
Most people didn't. So.
Well, no, I mean, it's back and forth. We just agree to disagree in regards to that. But no, Whiplash had an interesting premise to start with. Like, you'll come from a family of thieves, Stark, and then boom, nothing with that, So nothing, and then you had Thor, and then finally the introduction of Loki. It was a wonderful villain, a character through and through. But not exactly terrifying per se. I'm not shaking in my boots when Tom Hiddleston strolls into a room.
No. I mean, he definitely had some scenes where he gets to, flex his villainness and be a badass in his own right. But he's not like he sends in the person that makes you quake in your boots,
of course,
or manipulates that person to fight you, or he's a trickster.
He's a little bit of a trickster. And then the Incredible Hulk, you had, what's his name?
Abomination.
The Abomination, and I don't remember a thing about that movie, so I can't really comment.
I liked that movie.
I'm not saying I didn't like it, or, I just don't remember that movie. I remember some scenes from that movie, but that's about it. So I can't really comment on the Abomination. All I can say is, though, that when the Winter Soldier makes his appearance on screen, it's boom, and it's an awe-inspiring... terror-driven, character, and it's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's a great moment because Nick Fury, who you never really get to see have an action scene, he has one, and he's in peril, but it looks like he's escaped, and then
boom,
Winter Soldier shows up.
Wonderful reveal, and it's a game changer when he's involved in the situation, and he's basically an evil Captain America.
Yeah.
That's the long and short of it.
He's like if Cap was just brainwashed and forced to do like wet works operations.
Yes, that's who you'd get. And so it's some really good action scenes involving the Winter Soldier, and especially the ones involving Cap and the Winter Soldier.
Great action scenes, some great fights between the two of them.
Yeah,
cool knife work from the Winter Soldier.
Some very cool knife work. I really enjoyed the fights a lot. I will say though, the shaky cam did get a little much at times. I mean,
you're a little more sensitive to that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it didn't ruin the proceedings by any stretch of the imagination, and for the most part, I could tell what was going on. But every once in a while, I just, I wanted to grab the cinematographer by the shoulders and be like, "Stand still, please." But no, some very good action interplay between those two characters.
Mm-hmm.
I forget, why did we get into spoilers? Oh, so we could talk about things that we kind of maybe didn't like or nitpicking.
Yeah. I guess one thing worth mentioning, although I like it a lot.
Okay.
People are saying that the Hail Hydra was a little silly.
What?
So if you guys don't know, Hydra is the secret arm of the Nazis, the secret science division that survived apparently into our time.
Apparently.
And it has infiltrated the government.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I thought that was really a cool, superficial but cool way for them to talk about, inject a little bit of issues into
of course.
Superhero movie. Because it's basically they're saying all this drone striking and I guess doctrine of fear running through our military, things that are done. Basically, all the bad things. They blame all the bad things that our military is doing on Hydra in this movie. Oh,
thank God, it was all them.
It was all a nightmare. It was all Hydra all along.
I didn't even think of it that way. They're basically excusing the U.S. government for all the wrongdoing.
They're saying the real America would never do that, but because we've been infiltrated by Hydra, we're gonna do some supervillain stuff now.
Basically, Captain America 2 is an episode of The Newsroom from HBO, but made into an action superhero type story. It is a nice way for them to bring some issues into the fray. It's I think it's handled very well. But yeah, the Hail Hydra thing is a lot of fun.
Because these secret operatives embedded into the government, they'll just be talking about golf.
Yeah.
Hail Hydra.
And
it's become a meme. Look it up. It's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, there's a couple of funny ones out there. Yeah, Gary Shandling reprises his role from Iron Man 2 in it. Him and his neck are back in this movie, and
poor guy can barely talk over his neck now.
Yeah, but he can say Hail.
He can indeed.
So yeah, let's get into some nitpicks. There's a scene on a boat. He's on a boat, and Captain and Black Widow, and I like that they call her Black Widow in this. By the way, they never do that. I don't think in any of the other movies, except for maybe casually and passively once. But in this one, they constantly refer to her as Black Widow. I like it when they use the comic book names.
Yeah, of course.
So they're infiltrating this ship that's been taken over by pirates. It's a shield ship, and it's been taken over by pirates. And so Cap and Black Widow and the shield team have to go rescue everybody. And another thing that I actually liked about this moment was the fact that you actually saw shield as a legitimate organization that could take care of things.
Yeah.
Aside from Cap and Black Widow, you saw shield agents taking down pirates, being very strategic, and
because Cap and Black Widow do a lot of the heavy lifting on that, but the Shield agents do their part.
They're there, and you've not seen that in a movie as of yet, because the Shield agents have been really useless up until this point.
Except Coulson.
Well, aside from Coulson, they've been kind of useless. In the first Iron Man,
and
they
Hawkeye.
get
Black Widow. The unnamed Shield agents.
The unnamed Shield agents that are not part of the Avengers or Coulson have been pretty useless, because in the first Iron Man they kind of get wiped away by the Ironmonger. They don't really do much in Thor other than run away from the the Destroyer.
The Destroyer armor.
Agents of Shield. I'm not going to go into that because I don't feel like going on a rant about that show just yet. But,
I'll take a sidebar on that.
Okay.
I watched the first 5 episodes and I was like really wanting to get into it and super unimpressed.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch past, I think episode 6 maybe is where I stopped, and I just wasn't feeling it.
No.
I want to go back now because like I keep hearing like, oh no, wait, come back, we did this now, we did this, check it out.
You've
like,
broken our hearts too many times.
They put Deathlock into it and they put Lady Sif into it, and so now that we're in spoiler territory, I can talk about this. By the end of this movie, S.H.I.E.L.D. is disbanded.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, they got me with their little crossover bullshit. Now I'm like, well, what happens on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. then? I gotta know.
You sucker. P.T. Barnum talked about you,
Yeah.
one born every minute.
And Marvel used to do stuff like that. I think they're still doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, buy this issue of this book that you don't follow or care about because it's a spillover from stuff in this other book that you do care about.
Of course.
So they got me. I kind of want to find out now.
No, it's fair enough. It's fair enough.
But yeah, so the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are being very effective.
They're being very effective. So it's really nice to see that this is an organization that should be feared, because if all you have is an organization of useless people, then why are we terrified that, you know, Robert Redford is going to utilize them to take over the world?
You're going to take over the world? Are you sure?
Yeah, no.
All right, well, call me when you're going to try.
I'm going to take a power nap. Just let me know if you become a threat at any point. Okay, so anyway, they're on the boat.
Yeah.
And they're taking down pirates, and then Cap encounters a villain by the name of, what is it, Batroc?
Batroc the Leaper.
Batroc the Leaper. Who,
played by George St. Pierre, I was surprised to see.
Yeah, he's a Mama fighter, right?
Yeah, he is a Mama fighter. He's a very famous Mama fighter.
Yeah, so he's a Mama fighter, and he's a kicker. Yeah. So he kicks Captain America a lot in a very nice fight scene in the movie. We're talking about a movie, I forgot. And so it's a good fight scene, and then he sort of takes him down. Cap takes the Leaper down, and then the Leaper throws a bomb at Cap and the Black Widow, and it blows up like a bomb does, and then the scene is over, and all of a sudden they're off the ship, and it's next day in Washington, D.C. That was very much, to me, like a Dark Knight sort of thing, where Batman catches Rachel, and like, oh, we gotta do this more often. I don't remember what my reply is. And then boom, it cuts to the next day. Meanwhile, people in the audience are like, dude, Joker's still up there. There's still innocent people up there. What's he doing to them? Oh my god. No, we just assumed he took the freight elevator down to the loading dock and got the hell out of Dodge.
I guess it didn't faze me because it was so comic booky. It's like, the villain throws a bomb and gets away. Like, that's just what happens.
I guess, aha! You know, look, the movie equivalent of look that way. Yeah. Why? Because we don't know how to end the scene. Okay. I mean, it didn't ruin the movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that I noticed.
I understand what you're talking about. I also was waiting for, in my mind, because if I remember correctly, see, this is the thing. I was kind of excited to see him because he's a minor Marvel villain. He's a Cap villain.
Okay.
I'm not. I think I remember what his powers are, and I think they're just leaping. I think it's right there in his name. I think he leaps.
Yeah, he leaps.
Super jumps.
Yeah, he has super jumps. So he has strong legs, which they demonstrated with all of the kicking that he did.
So to my mind, it was like, oh, Batroc went back up on deck, and then maybe he like leaped to another ship or something.
I want to see that.
I do want to see it too.
Yeah, I want to see that.
You're not wrong.
He is actually kind of smart to have in the movie, because this is a good hint of what's to come, because Cap's fighting him. Now, you know, Cap is much stronger than a normal man. Mm-hmm. So if Cap goes up against, you know, you or I, or just even a normal soldier, you know, probably one punch is going to knock him out, I imagine. Yeah. But with Batroc, though, like, he keeps hitting him, and Batroc keeps getting up. So there's something different about this guy. They don't go into it at all, but it is a good foreshadowing that there are people out in the world that are like Cap that he'll have to contend with. So when the Winter Soldier shows up,
it's not quite as much
of a shocker out of left field, because we've already been made to realize that, no, there are threats out in the world that, you know, Cap would need to deal with that are on his level. Mm-hmm. So I actually thought that was some, you know, nice little foreshadowing on the movie's part.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Did you have any little gripes or nitpicks that you can think of?
Not really. I really like this movie, man.
Yeah,
Let me think.
One thing that our roommate Rick Rodriguez pointed out was the fact that he's actually Captain Puerto Rico.
It's true. It's a meme as well. You can see his uniform is very reminiscent of the Puerto Rican flag.
Which I have to wonder if that's maybe half the reason why they decided to give him the darker uniform. And
that's why they cast John Leguizamo instead of Chris Evans in this one.
I'm not even going to try and do a John Leguizamo impersonation. But no, it's I'm wondering if that's why they went with the dark. I know it's an homage.
Oh, the super soldier uniform.
Yeah, I know it's an homage to the Ultimates version of Cap when he.
No, it's not the Ultimates.
Oh, it's not Ultimates?
It's when he becomes the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. after Nick Fury steps down in the main Marvel universe.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so I mean that's nice, and I like that outfit. It's a little less. Than the one in the. It's a little less gaudy than what was in the Avengers, and I understand, Joss Whedon wanting to really be faithful to the look of Cap, and there was nothing really wrong with his look in the Avengers. I like the more subdued tones, and I actually like at the end when he gets back into his old World War II costume.
Yeah.
Because I really like that camo look for him, because he's a soldier, and I just thought that was a good look for him. So. Yeah, I can't really think of any other gripes.
If I got any nitpicks, it's with the after credits stuff.
Oh yeah.
So basically, the first, there's a bit of credits, and then we cut to a lab, which I presume is AIM. They never say. AIM is another evil super science division,
which they allude to in Iron Man 3.
You're right, they do.
Yeah,
so maybe it's not, because AIM kind of gets taken down there. Anyway, another group of mad scientists are plotting world domination, and I think it's Baron von Stucker.
Baron von who's a Nazi. He's
Yeah.
just a Nazi. They went to a costume store. They found a Nazi outfit, and they gave him a little. Does he have a monocle?
I think he has a
monocle. He has a friggin' monocle. Yeah. So he's a Nazi essentially. I mean, they're not even trying with this one. I mean, with the Red Skull, it's like. Hydra, that's right, we're not Nazis, we're Hydra agents, This one is just, boom, the Avengers are going up against a Nazi.
But anyway, so then we see him, and he's talking about, S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, it doesn't matter, they can do what they want.
Right.
We're doing the real important work, and then it cuts to who I presume are Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
They're kind of in holding cells, but we can see them freaking out. I guess I'll nitpick, I know that they need to not make them mutants because Fox owns all the mutants now.
Yeah.
And from way early on when we heard Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were going to be in the Avengers 2, which this is obviously a teaser for. We're seeing them for the first time. It was like, okay, well, they just can't be mutants. But I kind of just thought, I don't know what I thought. I thought I was going to have my cake and eat it too, and it was like they're just going to be people that have powers that S.H.I.E.L.D. finds or something like that. But this kind of makes it look like, no, they're the result of an experiment. Because we see them kind of freaking out in their cells, like Quicksilver running around real fast in his cell, and Scarlet Witch kind of like, she almost looks like she has like Magneto powers, because she's like,
she's levitating some blocks, and then she destroys them. She also looks slightly unbalanced, which I don't know if that's in keeping with her
incredibly
character.
accurate.
Oh, okay. I don't know comics, so she looks a little,
Wanda's not all there,
Okay, so that's interesting. My complaint with that scene is that it had absolutely nothing to do with the damn movie that we just saw.
That too.
It's very much
just a teaser for.
The only connection between that little sequence and what we just saw was the fact that Baron von Stucker says S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra. That's it. That's your little connection.
And
so
then the credits roll more, and we see Bucky strolling through the Captain America museum that we saw earlier in the movie.
Yeah, the section of it in the Smithsonian.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And just learning about himself.
Which is fine. I don't know why.
Fine. I don't know why he needed it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why you needed that as an after credit. They're like, aha! Okay, it's like
it's almost like with this one and with Iron Man 3 and with Thor 2 as well. It's almost like I appreciate the after credit stuff. I like it. It just seems like they're not trying hard enough.
No, not really. Well, they know they've got us. We've already bought our tickets.
They've got people doing it in movies that are not. Like, people did it in Man of Steel.
Remind me?
For Superman, people were, like, waiting for the after credits of Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And I kind of got up and was like, oh, these people are dumb. There's not going to be after credits. This isn't a Marvel movie. And then I waited. I was like, wait. Hang on. Let me just look it up on my phone real quick.
Let me just be really certain.
Let me just be sure. And then, like, the first Google result was like, no, there's no after credits for Man of Steel. And as I was walking out, I was like, hey guys, no after credits.
We can't believe that's true.
Are you sure? And they stuck around anyway.
How are we gonna know about the next movie if we don't stick around?
But they got people trained like that. Like, oh, superhero movie? Definitely there's gonna be an after credits thing.
I don't know what they would have done with Man of Steel. Everyone's dead.
Just pan over the crater that used to be Smallville.
The one guy from the IHOP comes out of the cradle with a white flag.
Do I still have a job?
Yeah. But that would make just as much sense as what we've seen in these other after credit sequences.
Yeah.
I don't know. Bucky learning about himself. I feel like they had maybe like an ending montage planned for. Well, they did do an ending montage for Captain America: Winter Soldier, where you see that Agent 13 has applied to the CIA.
Yeah.
That Colby. What's her name?
Oh,
Agent
Maria Hill?
Yeah. Agent Hill is going to go work for Tony Stark now. And I feel like they actually wanted to put that Bucky scene into that montage because it seems like it would fit in, but it doesn't. But the reason they didn't, I think what they were thinking is, well, we just said that Cap and Falcon are going to go find Bucky. That's their next mission. When do we start? We just did, or I think is the line. But that's not as thrilling if you've already seen Bucky standing in the Smithsonian looking at his exhibit because he's like, he's in the Smithsonian! It's much less of a mystery of where did this character go. It's like, well, he's in the city somewhere.
Well, this won't be hard.
No, this won't be hard. So I can understand why maybe they took it out, but I think that's exactly what that was supposed to be. But I guess they just really liked the shot, so they're like, well, they're used to 2 of these things now. But we've only been given one Avengers-themed one.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember Thor, The Dark World, that little thing at the very, very end where it's that stupid creature going through the parking lot at one point?
Yeah.
It's so retarded, but, whatever. It's...
I mean, people would say the same about him coming back and giving Natalie Portman a smooch as well.
Yeah, that was really unnecessary as well.
Yeah.
That was really, really stupid. But whatever. It is what it is. Overall, Captain America is a movie that it's done very, very well. Much, like any decent, thriller, spy action movie, there are interesting, problems to deal with. The stakes are high. And the violence in this movie, which it's the most violent.
People die.
It's the most violent out of all the Marvel movies, I think.
Yeah.
That I can recall. And but
more people die in this one than die in like the World War II.
Yeah, right.
Parts of Captain America 1.
And that was World War II, for Christ's sakes. No, it's but each death sort of has like a meaning and resonance, So it's not violence for the sake of violence. It is to make the proceedings that much more dire and really. It's aimed to involve you more, and I think it works really, really well.
And the violence that is there in terms of cool fight scenes involving Cap, I just have to say, like, as a Marvel fan that's always wanted to see these characters come to life, the things that I've always appreciated about, like, the Avengers and all the previous Marvel movies, still here. You see Cap use his... Because Cap has pretty limited superpowers, He's just a man operating at peak performance, and he has a cool shield. But you see him use it in some really cool ways in this movie. I love when he, like, scrambles up on top of that, like, Harrier jet, the shield aircraft.
Yeah.
And, like, uses the shield like a pinball to, like, take out several key parts of it and then jumps off of it.
That's kind of cool.
Stuff like that. Or, like, Winter Soldier doing the cool knife work.
Yeah.
What else is great? They made Falcon exciting.
Yeah.
Anthony Mackie does a very good job. With that,
and then Redford putting a little class into the proceedings.
Yeah.
A little
Sundance in there.
Yeah. Overall, it's a wonderful film. Definitely an excellent addition to the Marvel movie canon.
Excellent.
And it made me excited for Captain America 3, not the next Avengers movie, but it made me excited to see what else they were going to do with this character specifically.
The one thing I've been wondering about that the whole time, though, is like, so now Bucky's back in play.
Yeah.
In the comics, they put Bucky back in play because Steve eventually was assassinated for a brief amount of time, and then he came back.
What's brief in comic book terms?
I think it was like a year and a half.
Okay.
Until Captain America 1 came out, and then it was like, well, we need Steve Rogers back, so get him.
Does anybody really stay dead in the comics?
No.
Okay.
And then, sometimes they're dead for 20 years, but then
they'll bring them back.
Who grew up on them will be like, no, we got to bring that character back. Like, anyway. But my point is, like, it almost felt like they brought Bucky in to replace Steve, because that's what they did. Bucky became Cap for a while. And he was a very different sort of Captain America, but he was still Captain America.
Was he Captain Bucky?
He was not Captain Bucky.
What an adorable little name.
He did carry a gun.
Okay.
Which freaked some villains out. They were like, haha, Captain America, I've got you where
Well, I mean,
But he's a soldier, so.
Yeah, he's a soldier. You know, what do you expect?
So now I'm wondering though, like, are they gonna
Kill off Captain America?
Maybe.
Well, that would make what's his face that plays him happy because he's like signed on for 5 gajillion more movies. So
that's what I heard.
If he could get out of that,
I've also heard Chris Evans wants to stop doing this in direct.
Hey, you know, I mean,
so maybe we're getting Captain Bucky. I don't know.
Captain Bucky, who knows? But I mean, you know, we'll save the Chris Evans talk for another time. But you know, if that's what he wants to do,
we could do a whole episode on Chris Evans.
How about no? But we'll think about it. But you know, if he wants to direct, that's all well and good. But I don't know. Maybe
he's really good in another teen movie.
You're my sister only by blood. Oh! It's a really funny movie.
It's a really funny movie.
But no, I don't know. I mean, I don't think they will because I don't think people want to see Avengers 3 with Captain Bucky. They want to finish out this ride with, you know, Steve Rogers. So maybe after the third Avengers.
Maybe after the third Avengers, though. I think Evans is contracted at least for another Cap and another
Cap and another 2 Avengers movies. Yeah. So they own him for quite a while now. But after that, yeah, it's, you know, he could die in the Avengers 3 and Bucky could take the mantle. That could be a very dramatic arc.
And it would be kind of cool, especially considering we know that like the actors that we're seeing in these movies now are eventually going to have to be replaced. Like,
yes,
Downey's not going to do this forever.
No, he's already done with the Iron Man movies. Now it's just Avengers.
Yeah, and rather than see them do a reboot of Cap entirely, maybe it'd be cool to see it get handed off. So
yeah,
I don't know. Just speculating at this point, but.
Well, I think that's some good speculation, but you know, speculation deserves time, thought, and more time. Do you like how I did that? Makes no sense, does it? Basically, I'm trying to end the episode, is all I'm trying to do.
Great.
So, you know, again, long story short, we both enjoyed Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and I think that's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of FilmtopiaCast 3000.
We'll be back when another Marvel movie comes out, apparently. That's all we seem to do now.
We've done other episodes.
The last one we did was Thor 2.
Yeah, you're kind of right. All right, well, you're going to see us again soon. So, again, I'm your host, Greg McIver, and with me has been
Nicky Boom-Boom.
And we will see you next time.